the Florida Gators. And we have made it abundantly clear on this show, and if you follow college football at all, you know this. Florida faces what might be the most difficult schedule on paper anyone has ever seen. It ain't good.
Yep.
It's tough. You've got a tough draw from the SEC where you go to Texas. You obviously have to play Georgia and Jacksonville. Ole Miss comes to town. You got to go to Tennessee. Kentucky's been a problem for Billy Napier and company. But you also have your annual game against Florida State, which happens to be really good again.
Yep.
And you're there. You're going to Tallahassee. You also are playing Miami this year in the Swamp.
Yep.
You also are playing UCF in the Swamp, and nothing UCF would want more than to beat Florida.
Oh.
So the motivation factor as high as possible for the Knights. Florida, everywhere it turns, there's a bogey. And Billy Napier comes in. And, of course, he's going to get questions about that. But throughout the offseason, the mood out of Gainesville has been fairly positive. It's been fairly upbeat that this could be a better team than the 5-7 team last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, realistically, you say, is better a better record against this schedule? But that's a fair question. I do think if you're Billy Napier and you show improvement, that's good for you.
Absolutely.
Your job is in question right now. If you show improvement, it probably isn't.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't show improvement, we probably know how that ends. But our colleague, Jesse Simonton, was in the scrum with Billy Napier on Wednesday and asked him a very interesting question about that confidence that seems to be seeping out of there and why it does. And I don't want to prejudice anybody with a synopsis of Billy Napier's answer. I'm just going to let you hear how he answered it, because this answer fascinates me and left me with more questions.
There's been a lot of outside noise just about job security and kind of where things stand. But you've kind of exuded kind of a quiet confidence the last 6 months, kind of how I've been around you. How much does that kind of maybe trickle down to your team as you guys kind of enter fall camp and really see things stand?
Yeah, I mean, I just, change doesn't happen overnight. I think ultimately we kind of, timing is everything, right? I think when we took the job, what we inherited, the work that needed to be done, I think we're on schedule to some degree. I mean, should we have won a couple of games down the stretch? Would I have liked to close some of those games out in the fourth quarter? Absolutely. But reality is, I think from a system standpoint, process standpoint, in-house, the culture, I think we've made tremendous progress. And I think this offseason in particular, after observing things for 2 years, we made some changes that I think have really made a difference in our team. So I'm with our team every day. I think ultimately that's why I've got confidence.
Okay, so JD, the on schedule, just blinking lights around that phrase. And I put it out, I clipped that entire clip and put it out on social media and said, I don't know what to make of this. What do you guys think? And I didn't want to hear answers from the Miami fans or the Florida State fans, because I knew how they were going to answer.
Sure.
I wanted to hear from the Florida fans. And the responses were really interesting, because it kind of tracks with what I was thinking, that the fan base is basically split 50-50 on this situation, where 50% of them are like, oh God, what is going on here? Doesn't he know that you're supposed to win, and being on schedule is not being under 500? And then the other half is like, yes, this is what we've been saying all along. Stop changing for change's sake. Let someone build a foundation. Let someone build a program here. And it is, I don't know which side is right, and I think this season is going to tell us.
The troubling part about saying we're on schedule is you're like, okay, so was going 5-7 part of the plan? Surely not. Like, surely that wasn't actually a part of what we're on schedule to do.
And he talks about games that they could have won that got away from them.
Absolutely.
But on the flip side, like, the same thing happened in your favor at South Carolina.
Yeah.
That could have easily gone the other way.
I appreciated what Graham Mertz said when we sat down with him a little bit earlier. He said, we are who our record says we are right now. Like we.
Wow, he went straight up Bill Parcells.
He went straight to it. He's like, listen, like that was our record last year. Now at the same time, we're 0-0 right now. So last year was last year, but at the same time, I think we're going to be reading between the lines here. I feel like it was implied, hey, there's going to be a different Florida outfit this year. So I don't know. I'm with you. It's a little bit troubling to the ear. Maybe when you unpack it, there's a little bit more that meets the eye.
I will give the charitable version of this. It's been building to this. When you have a team that's played for you for a while, that understands what you want, and you've kind of weeded out the people who don't want to play the way you want to play, it does tend to play better together, and it does tend to be more disciplined. Now, Florida was not very disciplined last year. Some of that was players, but some of that was also coaching.
Yeah.
And so that part of it, I understand. Maybe you think it's going to be a group that is just more disciplined, that understands what the coaching staff wants, understands what the play calls are and what they're for and why they're doing this. I can get that. I can get behind that. Here's what I will say. The crowd that says you need to give people time to build, this is not 2015. Because you can give people all the time in the world. Back then, every player you signed was going to stay with you for at least 3 years.
Yep.
That's not the world today. Your best players can just leave. So if they don't feel like you're building that foundation fast enough, your foundation just sort of rots away from underneath you. And Florida, remember, lost its most talented running back and its best edge rusher to the transfer portal. Two teams that are on its schedule that are expecting to make the playoff.
And the other part of that, too, if you're a fan, you're saying, okay, if we're going to lose some players, like we better freaking go get some players.
Right.
Like we can lose our best player. We can also
DJ Lagway.
Go get your best player.
Yeah, and they did not do that.
No.
They did not go get anybody's best player.
Maybe Arizona State. What do you think?
Oh, well, Elijah Badger
maybe
could be a nice addition.
Sure.
My son torched me for a touchdown. Graham Mertz to Elijah Badger.
Oh, okay.
Playing the video game the other night.
Oh, good for him, though. That's good. His future OC.
This Badger guy
can go a little bit.
That's right. So, yes, they definitely did not, if you're just going on balance, if we were doing a college football 25 rating system, did not come out with a higher rating after portal season than they went in.
No.
And that's a problem.
Yeah.
So that's the issue. And this is, if it doesn't work out, that's going to be the obituary of the tenure. Was if you had hired Billy Napier in 2015 or 2010, this would have worked.
Yes. Because
what he was doing is the perfect thing for that era. College football changed into a new era the year he got hired.
Yeah.
And at the time, nobody knew what was going to happen or how it was going to look. And unfortunately for Billy and for Florida, I think they were a little slow in adapting.
Can I play devil's advocate a little bit here with the schedule a little bit?
Away.
I think as we sit here right now at Media Days, we feel like we have a good idea, a good definition for what most of these teams are going to be.
Yep.
Now, can we pull up Florida's schedule? In November, Florida will play just the absolute Hunger Games.
Yes.
Like that stretch is going to be brutal. Georgia, at Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, at Florida State. Right now, all of those teams are probably college football playoff contending teams.
Right. By
now,
the end of the season, we don't know if they will be.
What if LSU doesn't figure out on defense?
Correct.
What if Ole Miss?
Right.
What if the
somebody
transfers
has a bunch
don't
of terrible
fix?
injuries? Yeah,
100%.
exactly.
I mean, Texas, we don't know what they're going to be in the SEC just yet, as good as I think they're going to be. So, I mean, Missouri this time last year, we're all like, hey, is Eli Drinkwitz going to make it? And then we fast forward the tape, 110 ball games in the Cotton Bowl. So I guess I see that's kind of a cop-out take because it's like, hey, anything can happen. It's college football, but I think it's fair.
But it's not.
Yeah.
Florida is good enough to win some of these games, especially if some of these teams are not all that they're supposed to be.
Sure.
And so, look, if Florida's 8-4 at the end of the season, we're not complaining about Billy Napier.
Throwing parties.
Even if they're 7-5, I don't think we're complaining about Billy Napier.
I don't think so. I think you got to grade them on the curve, right?
Yeah.
I walked into many classes I had a D in, and I'm like, I'm going to retake this. Walked out of the final. I'm like, yep, failed that. Going to retake this. Check the website online. I'm like, hey, they curved it.
Oh,
it ended up being a C+. We're good. You know, like it might be the deal for Billy Napier. 7-5. You curve it up to whatever it is passing for Florida.
Yeah, I think anything that shows growth, improvement, gets you excited for next season, gets potential recruits excited, because right now the recruiting class not where it wants to be. But again, this is 2024. This is the class of 2025. If you win some games, maybe you start trying to flip some people. Remember, people flip guys from Florida last year. You could start flipping people from other teams if you're successful this season.
Just need a little bit of ammunition to do it.
But that's it. And that's what the most reasonable responses when I tweeted out that whole Billy Napier answer were the ones that said, all that matters is what happens on the field this year. And I think they're right. The more I think about that statement, and I've been trying to just find meaning in the on-schedule thing, there's nothing he can say.
No.
There are no words that make what happened the past 2 years right. The only thing that matters or makes it right is winning.
You and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we were in the Nashville studio. It was after the Prince Fleetwood Manuel thing about being developed, and that was shortly after the Steve Spurrier comments about like function internally. And it's like they just need Miami to get here. Like when they play Miami, nothing matters, no headlines matter. Play the ball game,
and we'll totally overreact to that.
It's gonna be
whoever
great.
Wins.
Post-game Twitter will be cinematic for either side. It'll be amazing.
Meltdown City, Pitchforks and Torches Bowl, Miami at Florida, August 31st. Be there or be square. Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.